American History TV is at the Organization of American Historians annual meeting in Milwaukee, and we are going to focus next on a discussion on oral histories and digital histories with Tom Ikeda, who is the Executive Director of the Japanese American Legacy Project, the Densho Project, which some of our History TV viewers are familiar with, and Jasmine Alinder from the University of Wisconsin. Tom Ikeda, what is the Densho Project that you've been working on?
So it's a community nonprofit based in Seattle, where we go out and collect the stories of Japanese Americans who were incarcerated during World War II. So the 120,000 people who were in the camps, what we do are the survivors from that. We go out and do a videotaped interview and then share those interviews on the web.
How many of these interviews have you done?
So we've now done about 650, and we'll probably add another 50 or so this year.
And Jasmine Alinder, you're working on a history project, an oral history project as well, the March on Milwaukee Civil Rights History Project. What can you tell us about that?
So the March on Milwaukee Civil Rights History Project is a digital archive. It's an online archive of sources relating to mostly the struggle for open housing and school desegregation in 1960s Milwaukee. It includes oral histories, but it also includes text documents, photographs, and video footage, news footage from a local TV station at the time.
What do you find the biggest challenge is in, because your documents, both of you are relatively recent history. We're talking in the case of the civil rights into the 60s, 50s, and 60s, in the case of the Japanese Heritage Project, the 1940s or so. What are the biggest challenges in terms of finding original source material?
Well, we had at my university, University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, we had a lot of these documents already in our physical archives. So the challenge was to make them more accessible and to give them a kind of context so that students in Milwaukee in particular, but beyond, could learn more about their city and its history.
Tom Ikeda, how about you?
Well, in the same way, there were actually quite a bit of materials, documents. I mean, you have to realize, so the government did this action against Japanese Americans, and the government actually kept a lot of records. And so in places like the National Archives, there are photographs, documents, and many of these we've scanned and put them on our website also. Perhaps the hardest part was to, especially initially, was to convince Japanese Americans to be interviewed for this. And there was a reluctance to share their story because, some still felt shame. Even though they did nothing wrong, they felt something must have been wrong for them to be put in camps. And so it took a while to just encourage them to actually be interviewed. So that was probably the toughest part.
Why are oral histories becoming more popular? We see them more often these days. We certainly on American History TV air a number of different oral histories. Why are they becoming more and more popular? Why are they more important these days?
I think one reason, and then you can add to it, is that if you want to get at the experiences of everyday people, those often aren't recorded in more traditional sources that end up in archives. So if you want to do a history of the Japanese American incarceration from the perspective of someone who was incarcerated, or if you want to do the history of Milwaukee civil rights from somebody who was on the ground marching, oral histories are a really good way to get those individual stories.